What you're about to hear is too unsettling for comfort. Let's get into it. Number 10. The flu that came back from the dead. In 2005, scientists at the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta did something that should have started a global conversation and was quietly buried under reassurances that everything was under control. They took the Spanish flu, the virus that killed up to 50 million people worldwide in 1918, and brought it back to life. Not a cousin, not a model, the actual virus, rebuilt gene by gene from fragments scraped out of frozen lung tissue, some of it pulled from a body buried in Alaskan permafrost for nearly a century. Their reason was legitimate. Understand what made it so lethal, prepare for the next pandemic. And it worked. The reconstructed virus was tested on lab animals. They died, fast and completely, full strength, fully lethal. And then the scientists placed their 10 vials of resurrected pandemic into a secure freezer in Atlanta, wrote up their findings, and went home. They didn't destroy it. They filed it away. Nobody voted on that. Nobody asked. Did anyone ask you? Number 9. The cockroach that learned to laugh off poison. You already don't like cockroaches, but what happened at Purdue University in 2024 should make you genuinely uneasy, not just squeamish. Scientists exposed German cockroaches to standard insecticides, tracking resistance over generations. Routine work. Except what they found wasn't routine. The roaches weren't just surviving the chemicals they were exposed to. They were developing resistance to chemicals they had never encountered. Cross-resistance. In a single generation, immunity to entire classes of pesticide jumped 4 to 6 times. The cockroach didn't need to be sprayed with something to become immune to it. Nature handed it a master key, and it works on locks it has never seen. The researchers just watched it happen and wrote it down. The cockroach has survived ice ages and mass extinctions. It has outlasted dinosaurs. And now it has figured out your pest control too. Sleep well. Number 8. The virus that learned to fight back. A continent overrun. Not by soldiers, not by machines, by rabbits. Hundreds of millions of them, moving across Australia like a slow gray tide, stripping every field, every pasture, every riverbank bare. In 1950, authorities thought they had the answer. A virus called myxoma, released into the wild population as a biological weapon. Efficient. Within months, it killed over 90% of Australia's rabbits. Farmers celebrated, but nobody asked what the surviving 10% would do. They bred. Their offspring inherited their resistance, and the virus adapted right back. By the 1990s, the newer strains weren't weaker. They triggered a kind of immune collapse in their hosts, closer to septic shock than a standard infection. Australia had triggered a 45-year arms race between a virus and a species. Science fired the first shot. Nature is still shooting back. Number 7. The smartest mice in history, and the question nobody answered. A mouse running a maze. Not cautiously, not sniffing at every corner. Straight through, first attempt, no hesitation, like it already knows the answer. Because it does. It ran this maze once, 3 weeks ago, and it still remembers every turn. That is what one single gene did. Researchers at Princeton University in 1999 added one gene to a line of lab mice, linked to a brain protein involved in memory, and the results were immediate. These mice, nicknamed Doogie after a fictional teenager who graduated medical school at 16, learned faster, remembered longer, solved problems that stumped ordinary mice completely. The science was celebrated, the paper was published, and then the most important question in the room was left unanswered. If one gene can do this to a mouse, what happens when someone asks the same question about a human child? The researchers moved on. The question didn't. 7 down. What comes next didn't go wrong by accident. It went wrong because nobody thought it could. Number 6. The toad nobody thought twice about. Queensland, Australia, 1935. Thousands of hectares of sugarcane, eaten from below by beetles, the harvest destroyed, the farmers desperate. Someone had an idea. Import the cane toad from Central America, which supposedly ate beetles like those back home. 2,400 toads were shipped in and released. No containment plan, no ecological study, not a single assessment of potential environmental impact. Documented fact. Nobody asked, what if it doesn't work? What if they eat everything else? They did. The toads ignored the beetles entirely, ate everything else in sight, and reproduced without limit. Their skin toxin kills native predators, quolls, goannas, freshwater crocodiles, snakes, within minutes. For humans, contact with eyes or mouth causes intense pain, temporary blindness, cardiac arrest. There is no antidote. Today, 200 million cane toads advance across Australia at 50 kilometers a year. 2,400 toads, 200 million. Nobody lost their job. Just a shrug and 90 years of consequences. Number 5. The bee that one man set free. Does one honeybee buzzing around your head make you nervous? Good. Then picture this. A cloud of bees. Not a swarm, a cloud. Tens of thousands of them, moving like a single angry organism, pursuing anything that moves for up to a kilometer. They don't sting once and retreat. They sting hundreds of times. They target eyes, nostrils, mouths. People have died running. People have died jumping into rivers. The bees waited. That is the animal at the center of this story. And it exists because of one man, one afternoon, one very bad decision. In 1956, Brazilian geneticist Warwick Kerr bred African honeybees with European ones, aiming for a tropical hybrid, tougher, more productive. The queens were contained behind screens, methodical, controlled. Then, in October 1957, a visiting beekeeper saw those screens, decided they looked wrong, and removed them, without asking anyone. 26 African queen colonies flew into the rainforest. They didn't soften in the wild, they spread, north through South America, into Central America, into Texas by 1990. The world calls them killer bees. One man, one afternoon, and that cloud is still moving. Number 4. The island that forgot what silence sounds like. There is an island off the coast of Alaska where for nearly 200 years you could stand on the shore and hear almost nothing. No birdsong, no calls, no wing beats, just wind, and beneath it, the faint sound of claws moving through the dark. In the 1780s, a Japanese vessel wrecked on this remote Aleutian island. The crew didn't survive. The rats did, swimming ashore onto land that had never known a predator. The seabirds had no fear, no instinct for escape. The rats ate the eggs, the chicks, generation after generation. One of the richest seabird colonies in the North Pacific had been reduced to near silence, and the island earned a name to match: Rat Island. In 2008, conservationists dropped poisoned grain across the island from helicopters. The rats died, but the poison didn't ask which animals it killed. Gulls that ate the bait died. Bald eagles that ate the dead rats and gulls died too. 46 of them, more than the entire known population of the island. 11 years later, scientists returned to an island full of birdsong. But it took 200 years of silence, a poisoning that killed over 400 birds and 46 bald eagles to get there. Number 3. The monkeys with something extra. Somewhere in a research facility in China, 5 monkeys are living out their lives without knowing they are unlike any animal that has ever existed. They look like ordinary rhesus monkeys, but inside their brains, something is different. Something that took millions of years to build in us, and that a research team in 2019 decided to shortcut in an afternoon. There is a gene called MCPH1. It is part of what makes the human brain grow so large, mature so slowly, become so complex. The researchers inserted it into 11 embryos. 6 died. The 5 that survived showed measurably better memory, slower brain maturation, neural development closer to a human infant's. The scientists called it a step toward understanding human evolution. But picture this: 5 apes, made more human in their minds than any creature before them, still sitting in a cage in a laboratory. They weren't asked, they were used, and the scientists went home, published their paper, and called it progress. Number 2. The flu that learned to fly. In 2011, Dutch virologist Ron Fouchier was studying H5N1 bird flu, fatality rate above 50% in humans, but almost never spreading between people. He wanted to know if it could, so he accelerated the process, infecting ferrets, passing the virus to new ones round after round. 10 rounds. By the 10th, the virus spread through the air between ferrets in separate cages, just by breathing, and it was still lethal. Fouchier had done in months what nature might never have done on its own. In plain language, he had built the closest thing to a perfect killer the modern world has ever seen, in a university laboratory, with public funding, and a method anyone could follow. Governments tried to block publication. Fouchier argued the world needed to know. The paper was published. The method is still out there. The question he never asked before he started, "Should I be doing this at all?" is still waiting for an answer. Nobody has answered it. Nobody has stopped. Number 1. The accident that proved something nobody wanted proven. In 2001, Australian researchers set out to control mouse plagues devastating farmland. Their idea? Engineer a virus to cause infertility in female mice, invisible, self-sustaining biological birth control. To boost effectiveness, they added one gene to a mild mouse virus called mousepox. What it did instead was catastrophic. The modified virus became lethal, killing mice naturally resistant to mousepox, then killing mice already vaccinated against it. The vaccine did nothing. The virus moved straight through every immune defense as if it wasn't there. They hadn't built a contraceptive. They had accidentally proven, with good intentions in a legitimate lab under proper oversight, that it is possible to engineer a vaccine-resistant pathogen. They published, because the world needed to know. But think about what that knowledge means. It is a map, peer-reviewed, verified, freely available, to something that should never be built on purpose. That paper still exists. It has been read by thousands, and not all of them were in it for the mice.